Maria and Doru's story. The encounter, Maria had never been the type to stand out. Often sitting in the corners of rooms, quiet and calm, she spent her time reading or contemplating the meaning of things. Her friends knew her as an introverted girl with a sensitive and empathetic side. One spring evening, though, at a party hosted by some of her classmates, she didn't expect to meet someone who would truly capture her attention. But then, she saw Doru. At first, she didn't pay him much mind, just noticing him from the corner of her eye. An unkempt haired guy with a big smile, seemingly at the center of every conversation. There was something about him that drew her in, but Maria didn't know exactly what it was. Maybe it was the confidence he radiated, or the energy that seemed to fill the room. "Hey, what are you doing here all alone?" he asked her, coming over as she sat by the window, away from the crowd. Maria looked up, surprised. It wasn't often that someone asked her such a thing, and his tone was so direct yet warm that she couldn't help but respond shyly. "I just didn't feel comfortable in the crowd." "Well, this is the perfect spot for you then." Doru smiled widely, his confidence making Maria feel a bit of relief. Maybe she didn't have to feel like an outsider. They started talking, and the conversation flowed naturally. Doru made her laugh, and she felt more at ease than she had in a long time. He asked her about her passions, the books she was reading, and Maria discovered that he knew how to listen, really listen, making her feel like every word she spoke mattered. By the end of the evening, Doru suggested with a big smile, "How about we grab a coffee sometime? Maybe we could talk more." Maria, slightly surprised by his invitation but also intrigued by how he made her feel, shyly accepted, "Sure, I'd like that." In the weeks that followed, their meetings became more frequent. Maria and Doru spent hours talking about movies, music, and life. Doru seemed to understand her better than anyone else. Somehow, in a mysterious way, he managed to reach the deepest thoughts inside Maria, encouraging her to be more open, to dream bigger. "You can't keep hiding, Maria. Life doesn't wait for you to live in silence," he would tell her with such certainty that it made Maria feel like he was giving her something incredibly important. Maria felt like Doru was teaching her how to step out of her comfort zone. At first, everything seemed like a discovery. Doru's world, vibrant and full of energy, made her feel alive, like she was part of something bigger. With each meeting, each conversation, Maria felt herself slowly letting go of her old fears. But soon enough, cracks began to show. Doru started being more critical of Maria, and his lighthearted jokes began turning into sharp comments. "You never really get what I'm saying. You're way too idealistic," he told her one evening as they argued over a simple point. "Maria, you can't just see things in black and white. Life's about choices, about power. You'll never understand anything unless you step out of your comfort zone." At first, Maria thought it was just a misunderstanding. Maybe Doru was only trying to help her see the reality. But soon his constant criticism and the comparisons he made to other people started making her feel more and more insecure. "Why can't you be like the others? Look, see what they're doing, how they're living," Doru would add, showing her pictures of their peers. People who seemed better, cooler, stronger. Maria began to feel the pressure. Something didn't feel right, but she didn't know what. Doru made her feel inferior, as if no matter what she did, it was never enough. She began to question her own worth. Something about him was shifting. His tone was turning colder, more domineering. The signs of a toxic relationship. One day, Maria and Doru had a heated argument. In the middle of a disagreement about simple weekend plans, Doru exploded. "You can't be serious about your life. If you don't change your attitude, you're going to stay stuck here in your little world your whole life." His words hit her like a hammer. Maria felt a deep pain in her chest, but she didn't know how to respond. Something inside her broke, but she didn't want to accept it. She wanted to believe that Doru, with all his energy, was right. She wanted to be enough for him, but she was beginning to feel like it would never happen. After that argument, their relationship became increasingly tumultuous. Doru began to isolate her from her friends, telling her they didn't understand how the real world worked. "The people who are your friends don't know anything about how things really go, Maria. I'm teaching you how to be strong," he would repeat every time. And Maria began to feel like her entire life revolved around Doru's desires and expectations. She felt herself slipping away. She wasn't herself anymore. She was a version of someone she barely recognized. The breakup one cold autumn morning, Maria woke up with a heavy feeling in her chest. She knew she couldn't keep living like this. She knew something was falling apart, but more than anything, she knew she couldn't stay in a relationship that made her feel small and insecure. She had lost trust in herself, and she didn't know who she was anymore. So that morning, Maria decided to end it. She called Doru and asked him to meet her at a quiet park, the place where they had first met. Doru, I can't do this anymore. I'm not myself. This relationship is breaking me, she said, her voice shaking but firm. Doru looked at her with cold, disdainful eyes without saying anything, but Maria knew the decision had been made. She didn't need his approval. So, this is it? You're leaving me? He asked, his voice harsh. Yes, I need to find myself again, she replied. And so, in the middle of that morning, Maria walked away from a relationship that had been hurting her. She knew the healing process would be long and painful, but deep inside, she felt that this was the only way she could begin to be herself again. Rebuilding. In the months that followed, Maria learned to rediscover herself. She started reading again, spending time with her true friends, the ones who really understood and supported her. She began to ask herself questions about what she truly wanted from life and realized that there wasn't just one right path. The world was bigger than she had ever imagined, and she could create her own way. Every step she took brought her closer to who she really was. During those moments, Maria realized that true strength comes from being yourself and learning to love your own person. Whatever it is, we need to take action and get out of a toxic relationship. This is not good for us. Our health is much more important, just like it was for Maria. Maria was a person in her place, as are many people. Don't forget that toxic people exist and will exist forever. Change comes from us, not from them. Although we have expectations, they only have demands. So remember what I'm telling you. If you like the story, don't forget that here you can find the best stories.